We are going off the rails. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this show dedicated to Disney and tangents. I am your host. I'm going to stop saying conductor because I'm tired of saying that too. It makes no sense. I'm not conducting anything. I'm just
a symphony.
I'm just hosting. Yeah, I guess I am conducting this symphony of. I feel like there's another S word in there that would have a nice alliteration.
I'll give you an S word.
Silly symphony.
I'll give you an S word.
Silly. This symphony of silliness. I'll just go with that.
That's my favorite.
I don't think I can technically say silly symphony. I feel like that's probably
Trademark.
Copyrighted for a little bit longer. And maybe not. But yes, I am your host, Craig Williams. And you've now seen all the people I'm joined with, but I don't know why you'd be surprised about who is joining us today because they're the same people every single week, like Jackie Gailey.
Hello there.
Denny Sunderly.
Hey there.
And Rhino.
Hello.
Hello. We have a great episode for you. And if you already read the title of the episode, then you know what you're in for. Everyone else is just going to have to wait a second to find out what it's about. Because I have to tell you, this is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. If you like our content and you want to support us, please consider booking your next vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. It costs you no extra money and you get the help of an awesome Dreams Unlimited Travel agent. So, get a free no obligation quote on your next vacation by going to dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And you know what? If you want to help us even more too, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and yeah, that would be cool. But okay, what is today's episode about? It is about getting charged more for things at Disney, but getting less of the experience. And I know what you're saying right now. Like, don't you talk about this every single Tuesday on 90% of the Off the Rails shows? Eventually they go into tangents about that. Yeah. But it's still a common issue. And part of the reason why we're talking about it is because one of our awesome panelists, specifically Jackie Gailey, she had a quick appearance on the Today Show, not just the Today Show, but then it went into syndication. So it was basically on everyone's local NBC news around the country from what I was seeing. A lot shared from Today Show specifically, but then also got that wonderful text from my mom and said, Jackie's on Wesh too. How fun.
Aww,
so
that's fun.
Yeah. So Jackie, you were really the celebrity, but you were.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
It is neato. That is for sure. Yes, indeed. But you were on the Today Show specifically to talk about that, but under the guise of what they were calling skimpflation, which I feel like, can we agree that that's the first and last time we're going to use that word in this episode? Because it sounds kind of dirty.
It's kind of a funny word.
Why did you cut to me?
Well, you took a big, heavy breath like you were getting ready to share something.
I just sometimes there's a collection of sounds and syllables and letters that all come together to make a disgusting sounding word, and skimpflation is one of them. Yeah. It's like, I don't like saying it. It also sounds like shrimpflation, like the price of shrimp has gone through the roof. So that's why I'm like, don't be skimping on that shrimp.
I hope not.
Not at this holiday party.
Oh, I do believe that the price of shrimp has gone up recently, but we need to do a little bit more research on that. I'm hoping one of the people at the table who has Google available to them can start really looking into those facts and figures right now.
The second I Google shrimp, I'm going to get nonstop advertisements for like cocktail sauce, shrimps. I already said it out loud. It's already coming.
Yeah.
Private browser.
No, they still listen. They're always listening.
Shrimp.
They're always
Shrimp
listening.
Inflation.
That's so funny.
Our shrimp overlords.
So this is
It's like the pumpkin lord, but for the shrimp.
right. Oh my gosh. I love that.
Okay, fantastic.
Oh, no. Shrimp inflation is actually like a shrimp disease.
It's when they inflate.
Don't want them
It says
to inflate.
the shrimp inflation stems from an early mortality syndrome, a bacterial disease affecting production in the 3 biggest shrimp producing countries. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. Shrimpflation may happen because of a bacterial disease.
Okay.
Guys, welcome to the Shrimp Podcast.
Yeah.
Everyone grab your cocktail sauce and just get ready.
Lots of horseradish.
We won't
Oh my gosh.
skimp on the shrimp content.
All
Sounds
shrimp
fishy
all the time.
Sounds fishy to me.
No skimpflation on the skimpflation. God,
Yeah.
what is happening?
Whatever.
Don't even-
Yeah.
What just happened?
I feel like I'm the guy in the water boy who just keeps yelling out to Bobby the whole time. And they're like, Is it that one where he's doing that? The dad from Boy Meets World?
Yes, and he
Slinky
also
Dog?
runs the hardware store in Home Improvement, and before Tim buys it, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, no, it's he's the assistant coach.
And
my
Slinky.
gosh.
Yeah, he's also in Joe Dirt, but I'm not going to bring up that reference because I'll make you watch it after the show, Rhino. But it's not appropriate to talk about on this
Fantastic.
show. This is a family show.
I'm just talking about shrimp over here.
We are so
Grab your EpiPens, everybody.
I have mine.
This is off the rails after all.
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean,
And I have a feeling this batch, as we are all going to be wearing the same clothes for the next couple weeks. If you're watching, if you're listening, you'll never notice the difference beside our craziness. But we are all working on very little sleep because last night, as of when we were recording this,
Sleepflation.
yeah, Sleepflation was the very first night of Disney Very Merriest After Hours. So it closed at 1 o'clock. The team that was yelling at me to get on the monorail with them, not knowing that I didn't want to ride the monorail, was there at, I want to say that was about like 1:59, right, in that
Yeah.
territory. And
Yeah.
so, and then we had work once we got home. Some of us, at least I did. But yeah, so we're all a little loopy with this. So if we forget what the subject is at any point in time, do not be alarmed. We
please
are
forgive
fine.
us.
Yeah.
Because 4 hours of sleep I think maybe I got 4 hours of sleep.
Maybe. So shrimpflation at
Still.
Disney. What's going on with that?
Oof. You know, they seem to have done a lot with their little skimpflation. I kind of like that word a little bit, though. I'm going to try not to say it anymore, though. But
What does it mean?
it means that a company is skimping on what they're giving their customers, but they're still charging the same amount for that, if not more. So, I had written last month an article about the parking lot trams because we spent a lot of time at the parks back in September. We had a couple of events and we needed to be at certain parks at certain times and whatnot. And I was kind of miffed about the fact that the parks have been reopened since they closed back in 2020. They've been reopened for well over a year. I mean, we're going on a year and a half now. And those parking lot trams are not running. And I looked into it a little bit and found out that you just need a regular driver's license to drive those. They're not, there's not a special classification. And got the information clearly from Kathy Whirling's daughter, who used to work in the Transportation Ticket Center. So she's the one who knows. And I'm disappointed because you guys know that I always try to give Disney the benefit of the doubt absolutely everywhere, because I know how it is to run a business. And I know that you have to have money left at the end of the day on your bottom line after all the expenses are taken care of. So I know that bringing people back to work was going to be a slow process, and, maybe having specifically trained people to drive those trams, maybe that was the issue. Or, I went through and just kind of was trying to think about what are the reasons that they don't have these going. But friends, when I found out that you just had to have a regular driver's license, I was even more miffed than I was in the first place, because I thought, you know what? You go through training, you learn how to drive that, you treat it like your car, and you drive it. You go through the training. I mean, every job, every specific job you have to train for, right? So there's a lot of people that want to get back to work, but of course, there's a whole bunch of reasons why they didn't go back to work right away.
I think I understood the parking lot tram issue a little bit more when when physical distancing was such a thing at Disney World. And now it is much less so. And we already have to wear on modes of transportation our face mask. So why can't we just, make sure you put on your face mask, hop on. It's an open air tram. It's not, you don't have to deal with enclosed situations. Just get in, and for me, personally, it's one layer deeper than that. My father-in-law is a stroke survivor. And while he can move and groove, he cannot move and groove the distance from the parking lot to the TTC. And I see people all the time pushing their loved ones in wheelchairs up that hill or along that little walkway that leads to the TTC. And if you're someone who has a mobility challenge, that is just like Magic Kingdom is out of the question right now for my father-in-law.
Aww.
Like it just is. As a local, and you've got to drive and park. That's just not feasible at this point, and that's
the
a
hardest
shame.
part.
The thing I feel like with the trams is like I am somebody where I'm like, I get it, I guess, but at the same time, I don't think they need them in every park, but I think they need to bring them back in the park that they do need them at the most, which you're saying is Magic Kingdom. And I do agree with that because you have that downward hill where you come back up, which can be difficult, like you said, with the wheelchairs for people and things like that. Like some places like Epcot or Hollywood Studios, when you park basically the way the new garage is, essentially where you would get on the tram, you're already basically at the park entrance at that point. So those are ones where I'm like, I don't know that we need them there as much. But like I went to Animal Kingdom the other day with Craig and we parked farther away than I had ever parked before. And like we do like to walk, but I was thinking where I was like, this is a long way away for some people, like especially when it stretches back that far. But again, like if they want to bring it back in phases, I do think it's kind of crazy because now we've gone to 2 of these after hours parties, and every time I've been parked in Scar, which is the farthest parking lot away from like where you're going to get on, not the farthest away, but pretty far out there. But imagine if you're on the other side, like further back, I don't know what that lot is, Mulan or something that's on the other side. But like it's a good distance. Yeah. It's more about it's the way it twists and winds and bends for people where I'm like, it's not a straight shot. You can't see your destination. So it gets a little like,
because technically, and I'm going to say this as, it is technically it's not marked as only cast members or anything, but if you're on the far right side of the parking lot, technically you could ride to the Polynesian on either the resort monorail or a boat, walk through there, and then you could cross the road where you would go to where the cast members usually cross to get to their cars. And that is, if you were in those rows in the back right, that is the quickest way to get to your car there. However, I also I hesitate on saying, because you are crossing a road. Disney does not obviously probably want you to do this, but at the same time, there are no signs that say cast members only, do not walk this way. So you have, the reason why they can't is because if you are forced to park at the TTC to go to the Polynesian for something like Trader Sam's, Captain Cook's, when you don't have that reservation, they might send you to the TTC, and it's a lot easier to get to it that way. So I think that's why they don't ever really crack down on people walking that way. But it is an option. But the point still stands. The trams at Magic Kingdom, and then I would also agree with Animal Kingdom on a busy day when you're parking far out, and then Epcot on the days where they think that Epcot is going to be so busy that they're parking all the way over. That makes no sense. Yeah. This isn't about this topic of more for less, but paying more for less, but I will never not be baffled about the parking. And this is not the first time I've talked about it on the show. Like last night when I got there a solid hour after both you, Rhino, and you, Denny, and I was not even parked a full row behind you. So there was no one coming into the Magic Kingdom at the time that I was getting there, yet we were still parking so far away. And then you start walking up towards the TTC, and it is just empty spaces galore and row after row after empty spaces. And this is becoming the norm for every park. Like,
they want you to pay for the preferred park. That's I honest to God, I think that's what it is. I think it's intentional to put you that far away so that they don't shine a light on how preferred parking can actually be a scam. I feel like a lot of the times, especially at a place like Hollywood Studios or Epcot, it's really not that far. But the trams at Hollywood Studios are literally a joke, I feel like, because it's literally like it's like the walk from security to the main entrance. That's how far the tram takes you. It's really like not even a quarter of a mile. It's like less than a football field.
Yeah, no. I mean, do you remember when that station was under construction too? And it was. I think the same thing happened at Epcot, where they were taking you up, and it was like. There would be times where the tram would only go like 30 yards.
It's like the length of a tram. It literally moves like 3 lengths of a tram, and you're like, this is like one of those it's like number cruncher or something where it's just inserting another object, and you're like, this is like the amount of time it takes me to sit and wait for this. Even then, I was like, people with I don't want to speak on like, people with big mobility issues or like that, but sometimes I want to be like, the strain it would take to sit down and get back up seems more taxing than just, biting the bullet for 20 more feet or whatever. But I do know there are people who need it and stuff like that. So that's where I'm like, it feels a little, it's like what you said about the Epcot parking. It just feels a little crappy. It feels like they're intentionally being crappy. I don't know how else to say it. You know what I mean?
I said it to my husband the other day. I said, it makes, I wonder if any of it, like you're saying, preferred parking, look how good. Stay at our resorts. You get to take a bus. We drop you off closer to the front of the park. Like, see the perks at a time when so many of the perks, and it is such an issue that's percolating to the top of the pile here, is the fact that the degradation of the value of staying on property. Oh, now they've, it's scarcity mindset is what it is. Yeah. So, look, here's a perk. You get, what
you got Disney Plus? Come on in 30 minutes early, but you're also staying at the resort 30 more minutes early. You own diamonds? 15 more minutes.
At the end of the day, though, it's just bad guest service. Like, it's and we go on and on about it in all the shows, but it's literally like back in the day, it was guest service for the sake of just being kind to your guests, going out of your way, going above and beyond, and that was part of the principles. And now it's
Disney
like
difference.
It's a pickpocket trick right now. It's literally look over here so I can pull the cash out of somebody else's wallet. So look over here where you have to park right now, even though it's entirely empty. And then later in the day when someone comes in at 4:00, they're going to park up here for free. While we charge everybody, $50 to park a total of like just a little bit further. I always thought it was kind of crazy, but it seems like it's gotten excessively worse, especially like now they have the trams to be able to be like, look how far you've got to walk now before we bust you over. But next we're going to drop you off in the middle of the woods somewhere. And good luck finding a way to get up here.
We just have to keep our eyes out, because if some man comes to town singing about monorails and trying to sell us on that, then I think we're really in for a world of trouble.
Oh my goodness.
Jackie, that reference went right over your head. I think it might have went over Denny's head too.
Was it
maybe?
Music Man?
Well, okay, so there is an episode of The Simpsons that Conan O'Brien wrote called Marge versus the Monorail, where it is a Music Man setup where the guy comes to town and
she really went
starts
on that.
singing about how, every town has a monorail that puts them on the map, like Ogdenville. And as the episode goes on, it is found out that all these towns had terrible monorail accidents that eventually just shut down the town. So it's a great episode. I would highly recommend watching it on Disney Plus. Hey, by the way, are you not a member of Disney Plus? For the low price of $1.99 for 1 month, you can become a Disney Plus subscriber, and then only $7.99 a month afterwards. Disney Plus Day coming to you on November 12th.
That's good.
I feel like it should have had one of those filters where you had the cartoon ding star come over your eye right there. Like
I'll put it in post.
beyond even just the trams, because I know we're talking about shrimpification or whatever it was.
I want to talk about trams before we move on to the next thing.
But like, you what?
I want to talk about trams before we move on to the next thing. I have a couple of things I want to say about those.
Let her go. I
Okay.
moderate. I say let her go.
Okay, yeah.
Let her go.
So it's funny because when you were talking about Hollywood Studios, like usually over the last period of time that the parks have been reopened, I have only gotten to Hollywood Studios via the Skyliner. And I didn't realize that until just now when you were just saying that, because usually what I'll do is I'll be at Riviera, or I'll take the tram or the Skyliner right from there, or I'll go over to Coronado and grab it from there. And so that's funny because I haven't noticed that about the trams there. But the other three parks, man. So it was September when I got really, really frustrated because we're in Central Florida. It's hotter than fire in September. And I'm like, not even exaggerating. Like, and parking lots have zero shade, right? So even if you do not have any mobility issues, it is so hot in the morning. And I'm talking about even if you arrive there at 8:00 in the morning, it is stifling hot. So to make that walk all the way from your car in the blaring sun to start your day, that is not very magical to me. And when you are a hot, sweaty mess after a day of running around in the parks, I don't know about anybody else, but I have anxiety all day long about the schlep from the front of the park all the way back out to my car because it's hotter in the afternoon. And don't let anybody tell you that it gets cooler when the sun goes down. It might get a little bit cooler, but it is humid as all get out. And even the rain, that's what I meant to say was the rain. So we get a rain shower in the afternoon. People used to tell me before I moved here that cooled things off a little bit. No, it does not. So in my opinion, it just gets humid then. And so then you're melting into a puddle on top of being hot. And so when you've got that walk at the end of your long day in a park, that is just not a happy place for me. And, I'm obviously not a small girl. I'm not, in as great of shape as I could be. So sprinting to my car is not really my jam, but it is excessive. It is an excessive walk. There's zero shade. And that's the biggest problem that I personally have with it is the no shade part.
Well, and this is your happy place. This is the place that we leave the cares of today, right? Mm-hmm. And if you've got that playing on a loop in the back of your mind the entire day, that detracts from the magic. It detracts from the show.
It does. And it makes me think, do I really want to do this? Yeah. Is that aggravation that I know I'm going to have all day long, is it really worth that? Because it does make me anxious. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a huge overthinker. And so it will. I love how you describe that, Denny, because it does. It replays in my mind. And so the more I think about it, the worse it gets. And I lived it back in September, and I was all kinds of aggravated because, and so then I turn it around and then I'm thinking, well, if I was in better shape, this walk probably wouldn't even faze me, because that's just what I, and I'm like, wait, this is supposed to be the happy, fun, and it's tough. And I feel like when they finally bring the trams back, everybody's going to be so happy to see them that we almost might not even care that maybe they'll just bring them back for certain lots that are way back in the back and they won't do them from closer up anymore. I mean, maybe they'll just bring them back part of the way. Like you were saying, some of them you get on and you really only have to walk an extra length of the tram to get to the entrance. So, but we won't care because we'll be so grateful to generally have them back. So it's sort of like, then Disney's doing, they're using half the gas, they're using half I don't know if they're going to do that. I'm just speculating completely, but And I don't think I'm the only one who thinks about that kind of stuff. I really don't. So, and you guys know that I always try to pull out the very most positive things that I can pull out of anywhere. And those trams, boy, they had me frustrated. So, and that was how NBC got a hold of me. Because they were doing this story on skimpflation, and they were talking about just this. They found my article.
Good segue into what skimp means.
Yeah.
Because I got nervous because on this show,
it sounds bad. It sounds like a bad word.
Correct. Yeah, because Craig has inadvertently used slang terms that we had no idea were buried in whatever they meant before, and we've learned. Skimp, surprisingly, means exactly what we're using it for. It says on here, because I said, where did the word come from? And it said, it's likely a variation of scrimp. So we were close to a tramp. Scrimp, which means to make too small, and comes from the Swedish word skrumpa, meaning to shrink or shrivel up. You know, the skrumpa. As George Costanza would say,
I go to IKEA
I was in a
often.
pool. What?
Denny and I'll just be under the table.
No,
Don't mind us.
yeah.
But
I was in the pool.
I was in the pool. Julie would have died at that
What
one.
happened? Shrinkage?
Nothing at all.
Scrumping.
That doesn't happen.
Scrumpna. But I do want to talk about. We're not just talking about trams, right?
No,
We're talking about how they pulled in. Because I feel like we don't talk about this enough. I get it. Things came back. Things were always meant to get more expensive. But I feel like not enough people are talking about the fact that the top tier annual pass that did include water parks and photo pass was around, for renewal for Florida residents, was around $850, right? It's somewhere in that ballpark. It was definitely under $900. It was like $860 maybe. When I renewed mine this last year, it was around $850 or something like that, right? So, but this new pass without water parks, because those aren't included anymore, photo pass isn't included anymore, is like $1,300. And then for another $100, you can add the water parks. That's, it was with the $100 of the water parks and the $100 of the photo pass, it becomes like $1,600, which is almost twice as much. And you still can't use the pass as much because it still has the 5 reservation days, which, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy we have more. We have the 5 instead of the 3, but I have finally run into that problem again, being like, oh, I guess I have five passes, and then you're locked into one day and you have to juggle these days around to be able to like get the day that you need later in the day and be like, well, I guess I'll sacrifice this day and hopefully it doesn't fill up too much. And now we're getting into the holidays, but that's the whole thing. We're paying that top tier price to be able to go to this place, and I'm not trying to be that guy who's like, gimme, but you're charging me twice as much for not nearly close to the same amount of benefits, and we're just like, it's fine. And now we've had 2 after-hour parties. Same thing. It was the pickpocket. They showed you Boo Bash, and we're like, well, you paid this amount of money for so much less. So obviously we're going to triple the price of this Christmas party because we gave you a parade and a show and fireworks. So that's why it's that much more.
Yeah. Well, I do think that there's probably like a bell curve situation in terms of the complaints versus on annual passes and such. I think we are definitely in the group because we are going multiple times a week, planning out in advance. I think that we are that infinity group of complaining, and then I think it does the curve down, and then it's most of the people in the middle are not complaining at all about them, and the annual pass options currently suit their needs, so there's no point to complain about it. And I'm not sure where the upward curve goes back on the bell. Probably that small group who complains about it, but at the same time doesn't go to the parks. They just want to complain about it. I'm going to call that my bell curve. I'm going to call that. I feel like I made the curve.
I was like, you're talking about a slope.
So yeah, it was a slope. But I do think that we are in a special group that a lot of annual pass holders would not fall into, that like they can't go. They have lives. They have work. They can't go 6 times a week. Like right at this table. Jackie
not
lives
the ones listening to this podcast, let me tell you.
I will say, though,
kidding.
from
Sorry,
the perspective of Jackie, who lives in Jacksonville, so she's an annual pass holder, but she doesn't have the same problems that the 3 of us do, because she might come once a month, and even on top of that, it's like, okay, well, I have no problem getting the park I want. I can plan in advance. I think that's what a lot of annual pass holders are. But you did bring up the party, the Disney Very Merriest After Hours. I think that's a good way to kind of wrap this episode up by talking about it. That is the perfect example of skimpflation in terms of paying more or the same and getting less out of it. Specifically, I looked up the times. Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas Time parade, the grand return of parades to Magic Kingdom, ultimately cut. And I'm sure we already talked about this on our Walt Disney World Edition show, so I'm sorry for the repeat content, but drastically cut. Going from what used to be, depending on like where you would count the start of the parade, anywhere between 14 and 18-ish minutes.
Out of it? Oh, that's how long it was.
No, that's how long it was. My shortest video I've ever recorded of it was 14 minutes, and that's when like the characters just show up right away and cut it as soon as the last float leaves you. And then last night's my video was, I want to say, 10 or 11 minutes.
Really?
So we're talking about, I would say, just on average, 5 minutes. And granted, floats can speed up, slow down. In the former parade, there was horses. So if there was a little poopy on the road, then there was a little poopy. Then they got to clean up that poopy. I know I'm saying poopy a lot, but it's funny.
Clydesdale poopy, which was big poopy.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a big poop.
Yeah.
That ain't no shrimp poop.
That's big dung. It is very big dung. And so I understand there are things that slow it down, but just from there, I would say, at least a quarter of the parade was cut, but they are advertising it as it finally returned.
Look
it came back.
Look at the big deal at this small thing we have. Yeah.
And the stage show returns. Great. Super great. I'm so happy to have a stage show back. Again, another situation where this stage show was around 14, 15 minutes versus how all the stage shows prior to this have been about 20 minutes. And in some case, I feel like Hocus Pocus maybe is like 25, close to that. But for sure, the last Christmas one, the Mickey's Most Merriest Celebration, that one was 20 minutes. So we're talking about another 5 minutes cut off the entertainment on the stage. It's just,
and you're missing two other shows too, because we used to have the Mike Wazowski Tomorrowland Christmas show with the Buzz Lightyear and the Janet Jackson dancers.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And then we also had usually like another show that was over there that was like an a cappella group or something like that, because they had voice play there for a couple of years in a row. So that's two shows that are also missing on top of abbreviated versions already. And I don't want to hear another word. They're a multi-billion-dollar company, and their capacity right now is like it was before. There's no excuse. Then charge us less if you're going to give you less.
That being said, the crowd levels
they were very nice.
Were amazing to the point that even the first parade, you could have walked down to Town Square and Main Street seconds before the parade float showed up and still got a spot. Fireworks, you could have had any perfect spot seconds before they launched. All of the stage shows, you still could have been in the down front section a minute before the show started. And the second parade, Rhino and I were in Frontierland, just happened to be there. Literally, no one was there watching it.
Yeah.
Like, it was people, you were not one person back. There were still empty spots up to the rope.
I bet they snip out one of those parades though then and adjust it accordingly to have the parade be a little more central within the night, to be able to be like, well, there we go, 1, 2, 3, show, parade, fireworks. Maybe. Or something.
The only thing
I
is,
don't know, but
the performers, I feel like they have to pay them at minimum like 4 hours.
Like it's a waste of money if we don't do it.
Yeah, they might as well just do it.
After Boo Bash, we asked for another hour. They gave it to us. A stage show. They gave it to us. Like, there were things that we wanted, and I've got an article that I've been wrestling with for a bit now about this, because the cost of Boo Bash was $42.75 to attend for an hour. On the least expensive evenings.
Per hour. I was like, girl,
hour.
What ticket did you buy?
Per hour. So, and the breakdown for last night's ticket, it was $189 to get in. So it was $47.25. So we have
per hour.
Yes, we didn't get an extra hour out of the grace, out of the goodness of their hearts. They tacked on $40 to the overall price of the tickets.
Yeah, we paid for the hour. hour.
pay
Yeah.
for that extra hour. And I feel like we are like Oliver holding up our
Yeah.
bowl asking for some more, please, on this.
Please,
And-
sir, I'd like some more.
I'd like some more. Like it, and it's you know, and I said it on the video last night, the wrap up. Like, this is not an event that if my kids were still little, like we would be paying for these tickets, or even just my husband and I. No, I get it if you want convenience, but my goodness,
I don't think it's a
That's
party for
steep.
annual people anymore. I think like people like us who live here, to be honest with you, because it is like what you said. It's like it's a real. It's before it used to be this thing we talked about last night, where it was like Eli and I would go every other year or something like that. But that was when it was like $65, and I was like, it's pricey, whatever. But now it's like I'll never go.
Well, it's for a specific audience. Obviously, families are going to get priced out of it quicker, whereas a lot of single people, and then dual income without
The dorks?
kids.
No, the dinks? What do they call them?
I believe the dinks is the term.
I've only
The
just learned
dual
about this.
income, no kids group. They will most likely, as long as their dual income is large enough, they would have money for an expense like this. Or if you don't have an annual pass and this is your time that you're going to go to the park, then what do you have to say? What do you have to say?
This is so inappropriate, but are you saying if their dinks are big enough?
Okay.
oh my
Jeez
goodness
Louise.
gracious!
So
They are 12.
the worst part is I had a joke lined up to like wrap this all up, but then I started talking about whatever I was talking about.
Oh.
But I was trying to say there is a group that is still in this that can afford to go to a party. And like last night, it was sold out by the time the party started. I bet it sold out once people saw what the weather was going to be too, because I will tell you what, if I didn't have to go for work and Kylie and I were just, at home and a couple days before and saw, it's going to be in the 60s and potentially 50s at night for this party. So you get to bundle up and go to a Christmas party where it's snowing and get that Christmas entertainment. I would, for 100, 170, 180, maybe if this was our splurge and saying, well, you know what? Less Christmas presents. Let's treat ourselves to this. Maybe, but once you get up into the 200s, absolutely not. But the joke I wanted to make, though, was I don't want to skimp on this conversation.
But
You didn't. You don't want to scrump now.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh my goodness.
I don't want to do a Swedish term on this conversation, but we do have to wrap things up with
We
this
call
episode.
that a Swedish
so,
exit.
yes,
I'm gonna go to IKEA now.
I will.
some
Jackie,
meatballs?
I feel like Jackie has one more thing to say, so
Just
I'm
a
gonna
quick thing.
Just know that if Pete barges in and says, "What the heck are you doing?"
Yeah.
it's on you.
Okay.
We will throw you out. To,
Okay. I just want to give people the quickest word of caution. If you go to this after hours event, it starts at 9. You can get in at 7. If you go in at 7, please know that those crowds that you see at 7 are not the crowds that are going to be there for the party. Because I remember this from Boo Bash, and I got reminded of it last night. When you walk in there at 7 o'clock, there are so many people in that park that your head will spin like mine did. And I was like, oh my gosh. But
And you're going to remember to say this again on the Tuesday show.
I am.
Okay.
Because the park closes at 8. And to regular day guests, they have an hour to get out. And then
Beat it.
Yeah. This is, of course, the
So-
second reminder, because we already talked about that on the
did.
Walt Disney
Yeah.
World Edition podcast. So
That's true.
If you weren't
But-
paying attention, if you say, hey, the Walt Disney World Edition, not my show anymore, not what I'm interested in. I'm an off the rails fan exclusively. Hey, you're hearing it here for the first time.
Yeah.
I don't
But-
like topics to be too streamlined.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to say
I wanna
that,
talk
because I just
about
feel like people
shrimp.
should just. Sometimes you forget, and I kind of forgot. I kind of forgot, and then was quickly reminded of it.
But you are also correct, too. Not you, Jackie. Rhino. For the first 8 minutes of the show, we did not talk about anything. So I can't wait to see the fall off rate on this one. It's going to be entertaining. But again, to make my joke one more time, I don't want to skimp on this conversation, but we gotta go. This is our wrap up point for this episode. So we are going back on the rails. Thank you so much to everyone for watching and listening. If you enjoyed it, please, think about supporting us by booking your next vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. You can get a free no obligation quote today at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the Diz Unplugged. Please make sure you are subscribed. A lot of you probably aren't. So hit that subscribe button and also leave comments, questions, and topic suggestions in the comment section below. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, please make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts. And if it's through Apple, please take the time to leave us a 5-star rating and review if you're enjoying the show. It will help more people find it. And then they can also understand what skimp and shrimp mean.
And scrump now.
And scrump now. And scrump now.
For your education.
Yes.
The more you know.
The more you, thank you, Denny. It was on the tip of my tongue, and I was like, I see the star floating past, but I can't think of what it was saying on the star. But okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Off the Rails. Thank you so much to the panel for having this conversation. Thank you so much for everyone at home for watching and listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again real soon with another episode of Off the Rails. Take care. Bye-bye.